You will make a dozen decisions today that determine whether your body burns fat or stores it. Most people get the majority of them wrong and they have no idea because each one feels completely harmless in the moment. So today, I'm going to give you the exact daily routine that I would follow to lose weight as fast as possible, including my complete daily routine for maximum fat burning from wake up to bedtime, the exact timing that makes each daily habit work, and the mistakes that flip your body back into fat storage mode without you realizing it. And make sure you stay to the end because the final habit is the most important one. Researchers found that it can literally double your fat loss without changing a single bite of what you eat. So to start, I'm going to show you how to use the first hour of your day to burn more fat than most people burn all morning long. And the very first habit begins before your feet even touch the floor. I want you to wake up at the same time every day, weekends included. Now, I have 3 little wake up alarm clocks in my house, and so it happens pretty regularly because I find kids are pretty much on a solid schedule, especially the little ones. And so I get woke up about the same time each day, but I want to encourage you to intentionally do it. It's because your body runs on an internal clock, and that clock controls the hormones that decide whether you store fat or you burn it. So when your wake up time bounces around, even just from sleeping in on Saturday, that clock gets thrown off and then your body shifts towards storing fat instead of releasing it. So pick a wake up time that you can actually stick to 7 days a week and follow that. Now, once you're up, the next step costs nothing and takes less than a minute. Now, you've probably gone 7 or 8 hours without a single sip of water, and you've been losing moisture the entire night just from breathing. Back in my wrestling days in Iowa, I would literally track my weight overnight, and I would weigh before I went to bed because I had to make weight in the morning, and overnight I would swing a full pound to a pound and a half just from sleeping. So by the time you wake up, you're already dehydrated. And dehydration slows your metabolism down before your day even starts. The fix is very simple. We want to have, within the first 15 to 30 minutes of waking, 16 to 24 ounces of water. If you want to squeeze a little fresh lemon in there, that citric acid signals to your liver and to your gallbladder to start releasing bile, which clears out that thick, sluggish buildup that may have occurred overnight, and then it jumpstarts your body's ability to break down fat. I'd also recommend adding a little bit of electrolytes. I like an unflavored early in the morning from a Himalayan sea salt. You could do a little pinch of a high-quality salt as well if you'd like. The minerals from that help your cells actually absorb the water instead of it just passing straight through you. All right, so you are up, you are hydrated. Now we get to the most valuable part of this entire first hour. At this point, your body is sitting in a state that it will not return to for the rest of the day. You have gone probably at least, hopefully, 12 plus hours or more without food at this point, which means your fasting, your insulin, is at its lowest point of the entire day. And when insulin is that low, your fat cells are unlocked. Your body has no easy fuel just sitting around, so stored fat becomes the target. It becomes the fuel. And most people waste this window completely. They roll out of bed and go straight into breakfast. And the moment food hits their system, insulin rises, and then that window and that opportunity closes. Instead, I want you to move your body before you eat anything. You have 2 options, and you only need to pick one. The first option is what I did this morning, what I chose to do this morning was a high-intensity 10-minute workout. It only takes 10 minutes. You pick 3 movements, let's say squats, push-ups, mountain climbers. You work as hard as you safely can this morning, as hard as I could go for 50 seconds, and then I would break for 10 seconds. And you move to the next exercise, 50 seconds on, 10 seconds off. Then you go to the third exercise, 50 seconds on, and then at that completion of the third exercise, you rest for 40. That is a first full set. And then run through that circuit 2 more times. And that's it. It is a perfect fat burning workout in less than 10 minutes. It can be done in your living room because you don't even need equipment. Now, if you want to add in some weights, even better, you're going to stimulate muscle growth, which helps your metabolism, burns up more of that stored fat. If a movement is too much, you just modify it. If you can't do a push-up, right, go to your knees, or go against a wall, leaning at an angle. Squats could be done holding on to something or squatting down into a chair and coming back up. You move your body as fast and as intense as you can. The goal is simply to breathe hard because breathing hard means you're burning up fat. If you want some help getting started, I've put together 5 free follow along workouts that you can do right at home. Each one has 3 levels, so you can follow along no matter what your current fitness level is. I will drop a link to those in the description below. Now, the second option for movement is even more simple. And I find myself a couple of days a week going this route. It's walking, even if it's 10 to 20 minutes. Recently, I've tended to stretch that to 45 for peak fat loss. But the first thing I'm doing before I eat breakfast is getting that movement in. And walking in this fasted window is far more powerful than people even realize. People who walk first thing in the morning before they eat burn as much as 57% more fat from the exact same walk compared to people who take it later in the day. Also, if you take that walk outside, you pick up one more benefit at no cost. Getting natural morning light in your eyes sets that internal clock that we're working on by getting your sleep schedule right. It helps regulate your hunger hormones, and it helps to regulate them for the next 24 hours. So then the cravings that normally ambush you in the afternoon get dialed down before breakfast even happens, all because you stepped outside for 15 minutes. Works great if you have a pet and you have a responsibility to them. To get them some exercise, you get some of yours as well. All right, next I want to show you how to keep that fat burning going with something most of you are already drinking every morning: coffee. Coffee is one of the most powerful fat burning tools that you have access to. It can ramp up how much fat your body burns by as much as 30%. But most people drink it in a way that can cancel out the benefits entirely. So there are 2 rules. Rule number 1, wait 60 to 90 minutes after waking before your first cup. I like to slide this in after that workout. Now it's time to have my cup of coffee 90 minutes later. In the first hour of your morning, your body releases a natural surge of cortisol to get you going for the day. It's the hormone that wakes you up and it gets you moving. When you pour caffeine on top of that surge, your cortisol climbs even higher than it probably should, which raises your blood sugar levels and then blunts the fat burning effect that coffee would normally give you. So wait for that natural surge to do its job, especially if you're doing some walking or some working out. You burn a little bit of that up. Cortisol starts coming back down, and then coffee fills the gap from that come down effect, smoother energy, and the full fat burning benefit. If you followed the first hour I just showed you, then the timing takes care of itself. Rule number 2, nothing goes in that cup that spikes insulin. We've got to get coffee right first. So that means not adding sugar, no flavored creamers, especially none with artificial sweeteners. All of those flip your body right back into storage mode, and now your coffee is working against you. Now I will use my collagen protein as a creamer. It is sweetened naturally with monk fruit. You might add a little full fat cream. I would go full fat, so we're not cutting out the healthy fats and adding in sugars. Taking it black is great. I did a little cinnamon in mine this morning to help even more with healthy, steady blood sugar levels. This is also the moment in the morning when I usually will take my supplements. And there's one in particular worth noting, especially if you're over the age of 50, and this is a common morning drink. Protein goes in the coffee if I blend it in, or I'll mix it in if you're over 50 with creatine. Now you can hardly see it here because creatine, when it's unflavored, it's very plain. And I know some of you hear creatine and you picture a 25-year-old bodybuilder, but your body makes creatine naturally and those levels drop as you age. That decline is one of the reasons muscle gets harder to keep. The muscle is the engine that keeps your metabolism running. So I take 5 grams of creatine monohydrate with the morning routine. You don't have to load. We don't have to cycle. Just take it consistently and your muscles hold on to the strength and then keep your metabolism high. Plus it helps with your focus and your brain power for the rest of the day. Now, if you're not a coffee drinker during that time, you could go with our matcha plus moringa. That's what Nurse Living Good does, taking 2 very powerful antioxidants that have a ton of fat loss benefits themselves as an alternative to the coffee with a fraction of the caffeination. So at this point, you've got coffee and your morning is rolling, which brings us to the biggest question of the morning: breakfast or no breakfast? And I want to take the pressure off because both options work for fat loss. Depending on the day, ask Nurse Living Good, are we eating breakfast this morning or are we not? I will vary it kind of just from what my body is telling me. You just need to pick the one that fits your life and or your day. If you're someone who wakes up hungry, eat. Just make sure you build the meal around protein. You're aiming for about 30 grams of protein. My favorite source is 2 to 4 pasture-raised eggs because the yolks contain choline. Choline is so important, your liver uses it to process and flush fat. Your brain loves it as well. You could go with more of like a plain full-fat Greek yogurt. Just make sure there's no added sugars in there or no artificial sugars. Cottage cheese works really well. The breakfast mixture of cottage cheese with flax oil and flax seed is a huge hit. I do that very often. Sometimes I'll do that for lunch though. And so does a clean protein, collagen protein shake, blended up with some healthy antioxidant berries, a handful of spinach for extra fiber, maybe your favorite nut butter. Blend it. Very simple. But protein burns more calories during digestion than any other food, and it triggers the fullness hormones that keep cravings in check for many hours after. So a protein-based breakfast is going to prevent mid-morning cravings and a smaller lunch. Just give your body a little bit of time to fully wake up before you eat, get that movement in, crank up that metabolism. If you're eating within the first half hour of opening your eyes, your cells aren't ready to process food yet, and more of that meal ends up stored. The workout, the water, the coffee window, let those things happen first and then eat if you're still hungry. Now, if you're someone who isn't hungry in the morning, even better. Skip breakfast entirely. Sometimes this is all breakfast is for me, especially on busy days, and I let it carry me to lunch. Now, every hour you extend that overnight fast before you break fast is another hour that your insulin stays low and your body keeps pulling from stored fat. Whichever path you choose, the rule from here forward is the same. No snacking between meals. We are a culture of snacking. We love snacking. I love snacking, but no snacking. If fat loss is the priority, we need to eliminate it. Every single bite, even a healthy one, even a handful of nuts, raises insulin. So every time insulin rises, fat burning stops until that insulin comes back down. So eat 3 meals or 2 meals, your choice, but nothing in between. Next, let me show you how to burn more fat at lunchtime without changing a single thing about what you eat. If you're like most people, dinner is the biggest meal of the day. You eat light through the morning, grab a modest lunch, and then load your biggest plate in the evening. I am so guilty of this sometimes. That's when the whole family finally sits down together. Nurse Livingood's got a spread. That pattern feels normal because everyone around you does it too. But research has linked large dinners to higher body weight, bigger waistlines, and increased obesity, even when the total food for the day is the same. The fact of the matter is your body processes food best earlier in the day. That's how your internal clock is wired. It is primed to turn food into energy in the morning and in the early afternoon, and then wind down towards storing as the evening approaches. So the single biggest meal of your day should try to be lunch. Same food you were going to eat anyway, you're just moving the volume to the hours when your body knows what to do with it and you have more time to burn it off. Somewhere between noon and 3 o'clock, sit down to the big hearty plate built on 3 things. You need a protein anchor, wild-caught fish, grass-fed beef, organic chicken, turkey. You want fiber and smart carbs, vegetables, lentils, chickpeas, quinoa, wild rice, maybe a sweet potato. If we're going to have carbs, we want all the fiber with it. We need as much fiber as we can. And then a healthy fat, maybe a half avocado, a little drizzle of olive oil, a small handful of raw nuts as dessert. One of the easiest ways to pull this off is cooking extra protein at dinner early in the week or the night before. We do this all the time at our house. You can just pick off of. I'll grab a batch of chicken at the start of the week, and then lunch becomes a 2-minute assembly job. Leftover chicken, some leftover roasted broccoli, scoop of brown rice or quinoa, done. Now, once that plate is in front of you, the order that you eat it in actually changes what your body does with it. This is so simple. I want you to implement this today. You want to eat your vegetables and or your protein first. The higher the sugar content, the later in the meal it has to go. That's the rule. So the starches, the rice, the potatoes, the bread, even the sweet potatoes, save those for the end of the meal. You see, the fiber from the vegetables and the protein hit your system first, and then they slow everything that follows it. So the sugar from those starches drips into your bloodstream instead of flooding it. That one change can cut your blood sugar spike after the meal by as much as 44%. That's nearly half the spike just from the order that you eat your food. And a smaller spike means less insulin, which means your body gets back to burning fat sooner after the meal. Then once you finish eating, do the thing almost nobody does. Get up and take a 10 to 15 minute walk. Move that body. Even 4 minutes can make a significant difference. Your muscles act like a sponge for blood sugar. And during this time, it is the fast pass to the cells. So the moment the muscles start working, they pull the sugar straight out of your bloodstream and burn it as fuel before your body ever gets the chance to process it and store it. So a short walk after eating blunts the blood sugar spike from the meal. And it's also the reason the afternoon crash never shows up. That 2:30 slump where you're fighting your eyelids at your desk, it's a blood sugar crash. And by walking a little bit right after a meal, lowering your blood sugar by 44%, you just prevented that crash from happening. The walking sweet spot is about 60 minutes total across your whole day. 60 minutes will get you somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 steps. Some of you may be just a touch higher, but that's the sweet spot. Your morning walk, this walk right after lunch, and then one more later in the evening right after we eat will get you there without ever setting a foot in a gym. Now, one more thing before we move into the evening, whatever caffeine you're drinking, whether it's coffee, whether it's tea, whether it's matcha, it stops by 2 p.m. And noon is usually my rule, especially if you're sensitive to it. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours, which means half of that, 3 o'clock coffee, is still circulating in your system at 9 p.m. And 9 p.m. is right about when your body starts prepping for the most powerful fat-burning stretch of your entire day, the one that happens while you're asleep. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, before we do, I'm going to show you a spoonful of something that costs about 50 cents a day and triggers the same fat loss hormone as a $1,000 a month injection that you've probably heard of called Ozempic. And the reason that those injections work is a hormone called GLP-1, which tells your brain you're full and tells your body to stop storing fat. The drug mimics that hormone with a weekly shot. And what most people don't know is that your body can release the real thing on its own. It just needs the right trigger. And that trigger is psyllium husk. Psyllium is a soluble fiber that comes from the seeds of a plant, and you can buy it as a plain powder at the grocery store. When you stir it into water and drink it, it forms a thick gel in your stomach that moves through your digestive tract, and that gel stretches the walls of your intestines along the way. Your body responds by releasing its own natural GLP-1. It thinks it's full. It's also been shown to support healthy cholesterol levels, as well as the blood pressure and insulin, which is pretty incredible for a spoonful of fiber that costs less than 50 cents a day. Now, the best time to take this, you're going to put it into your regimen very simply, is 30 minutes before dinner. Dinner is the meal where your body handles food the worst, and it's the meal where most people overeat. Getting that fullness signal in place before you sit down means you naturally eat less without ever feeling like you're restricting anything. Now, how to actually take it, because there's a right way. Mix 1 teaspoon into 6 to 10 ounces of water, stir it briefly, and then drink it right away because it's going to start to gel very quickly. And then chase that with a second full glass of water. Very important step. Do not miss it. That part is important because psyllium expands to over 20 times its size inside your stomach. And without enough water, it can leave you bloated instead of satisfied, which also means start with half and then work your way up to 2 teaspoons over a couple of weeks. Do not rush that process. When it comes to dinner itself, you already know how to build the plate for dinner. Same 3 pieces as lunch. Protein, fiber, healthy fat, just in a smaller portion for this time of day. And if you use the psyllium husk before eating, it'll make that smaller plate feel like plenty. Now, for a lot of people, dinner is also where a glass of wine or a beer shows up. And while you're in fat loss mode, that is the one thing I would pull off of the table. The moment alcohol hits your system, your liver treats it as a toxin and drops everything else to clear it out. So it drops fat burning, and clearing out the alcohol takes hours. So a single glass of wine at 7 p.m. can cost you half a night of fat burning. Every habit that you stacked today was building towards those overnight hours. And this is the one thing at the dinner table that can undo them. Now, whenever you swallow that last bite of dinner, I want you to look at the clock, because from that moment, kitchen is closed. In the Living Good household, we literally announced kitchen's closed. That means mostly for the kids, stay out of here. But subconsciously, it's also telling Nurse Living Good and I, we're done. You want at least a 3-hour gap between your last bite and your head hitting that pillow. If you go to bed at 10, the kitchen closes at 7. If you go to bed at 11, kitchen closes at least by 8. Count backwards 3 hours from your normal bedtime, and that should be your cutoff. The trap that catches most people is the 9 p.m. wander. You're on the couch, a show is on, feeling relaxed. You just want to feel a little bit better, and then you drift into the kitchen, and then it's a handful of crackers, and then it's a bowl of popcorn, and then it's a little bowl of cereal. I've done it so many times. It barely feels like eating, but that little snack spikes your insulin right as you're heading toward the most important fat burning stretch of your entire day, and it locks your fat cells for hours. My favorite trick is to physically clean the kitchen after dinner, turn off the lights. You could even brush your teeth early if you want to. That combination sends a surprising powerful signal to your brain that just eating's done. Then in that window right after dinner, before the couch claims you, you want to move for 10 minutes. I mean, cleaning up gets it started, but just some kind of movement, a walk around the block, gonna get you to that 6,000 to 8,000 step mark that we talked about. Anything can count. Housework, yard work, play with the dog, the grandkids. I'm usually sucked in at this point, which I love it, to a game of catch, a game of soccer, a game of catch and soccer at the same time with 3 different kids, basketball, whatever else the kids want to play. We get it moving. Your muscles will soak up the blood sugar from dinner the same way they did after lunch, and that meal gets burned instead of stored while you sleep. And that brings us to the habit that I promised you at the start, the one that nearly doubled fat loss in people eating the exact same food. Researchers took 2 groups, put them on identical calorie-restricted diets. Same food, same amounts, same everything, except one group slept 8.5 hours a night, and the other group 5.5. The short sleepers lost 55% less fat. 55%! On top of that, 60% more muscle, the exact thing that keeps your metabolism running, was also gobbled up. So the people who simply slept longer lost nearly twice as much fat, and they kept the muscle that protects them from gaining it back. That's the entire reason this routine has been pointing towards the night all day long. While you're in deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, the master signal that repairs muscle and burns fat at the same time. The biggest surges happen in the first 2 to 3 hours after you fall asleep. Protect that window, and every habit from this entire day pays off double. Miss it, and you're running the whole routine at half power. So here are the 3 things that protect it. First, 60 to 90 minutes before bed, screens go off. Your phone, your TV, your tablet, they all emit blue light, the exact wavelength your brain reads as sunlight. When that light hits your eyes at 9 p.m., your brain concludes the sun is still up, and it holds back melatonin. That's the hormone that drops you into deep sleep. One study found that a few hours of evening screen light suppressed melatonin by up to 50%. If you absolutely have to use a screen, I do enjoy watching something with Nurse Living Good. Put in a night mode for the screen. There's a switch, especially for a tablet or a phone, or grab a pair of amber blue light glasses that block that blue light. Start to see the difference of falling asleep faster. Second, before you get into bed, set your thermostat down. Creep down to 68 or 67, even 65 or 66 degrees. Get it a little more chilly in there. A falling core temperature is the biological trigger that your brain waits for to initiate deep sleep. And a cool room gets you there faster. It also activates a special type of fat around your neck and your chest called brown fat, which burns calories from your regular fat stores to generate heat while you're sleeping. Your bedroom becomes a fat burning tool just by turning the dial down and cooling it off. Third, about 30 minutes before bed, have 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar diluted in a glass of warm water. One of the most common reasons people wake up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. is a lift, a little spike, and a little dip to their blood sugar that triggers a stress hormone spike. The ACV flattens, there's not any spikes and dips in the blood sugar overnight so that you can stay asleep and you stay in fat burning mode straight through the night. Now, if you don't love poor tasting liquid apple cider vinegar in diluted water, it's not my favorite, you can use capsules. I created apple cider vinegar capsules that have potassium and probiotics in them to help support the gut. But you can get 3 capsules in, and it has an equivalent acetic acid content as 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. It's a little easier to palate. Now, this is also the time to take some magnesium. It calms your nervous system and supports the deep sleep stage directly. I typically take 1 capsule, it's 150 milligrams of my 7 forms in 1 magnesium right before bedtime. After that, it's lights out, and you're aiming for a full 7 to 9 hours. Do your best to be in bed by 10 or 11 if you keep normal hours, not a night worker. There's a totally separate video. If you are, we've got you covered. But that window lines up your body's natural growth hormone cycle, and then when your alarm goes off the next morning at the same time as it did today, you're not just waking up. You're starting the routine again with your fat cells already unlocked, because the last habit of your day just handed the the first habit of tomorrow a head start. Now, if you follow this routine, your body will spend more hours in fat burning mode than it has in years, and it does not feel like the dirty words of a diet or a program. Those are swear words around me. This is lifestyle. But there's one thing that can still block your results. Even if you execute every single habit perfectly, there are specific foods that are going to be involved in those meals that shut down fat loss entirely. And most people are eating at least one of them every single day without any idea of what it's doing. Even if one of them is sitting in your kitchen right now, it can undo the work that this entire routine is doing. That's why in my other video, how I would drop 30 pounds fast without cutting calories, I will show you exactly what those foods are, how they sneak into your diet, even when you think you're eating healthy. I see it all the time. And then the video will also show you how to lose fat without ever counting a single calorie. I will include a link to that here. Click to watch it next, and I will see you there.